Welcome to another edition of Lakeville City Council Wrap-Up. During this program, we will highlight the agenda items presented to the Lakeville City Council at their March 7th, 2016 meeting. First highlighted item on the agenda is item number 5, Police Department Quarterly Report. And to provide the background information on this agenda item is Chief of Police Jeff Long.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. As you'll see, this report is actually titled January of 2016. Because of the way that we receive our crime stats back from Logis and the BCA, it's going to be a transitioning to quarters. So after this report, you will get full quarters. This month, you're actually going to just see January. So the good news that in January, most of you knew K9 Zeus. He worked his final patrol on January 3rd. He will be replaced shortly by a new dog. Officers supported the Parkview Elementary's Fuel Up for Books waffle breakfast on January 30th. The day shift went out there and enjoyed a breakfast with the residents and the kids. And we donated approximately 200 new and gently used coats to the Lewis House. And that's our second annual Cops and Coats campaign, so that was all good. Some notable cases throughout the month of January. This is a common scheme for anybody watching at home or in the audience here that isn't familiar with this. Is people will take advantage of people by asking you to cash a check for them. They claim they have bad credit or for whatever reason, and they'll give you part of the check if they cash it. They get away with it frequently. In this particular case, the victim or potential victim became suspicious. She contacted us. After the first transaction, we conducted a second one. Long story short, he's done about $32,000 in fraudulent checks. So that was a good arrest. The Rucker case continues. I only add that because there's quite a few things still going on, and there'll be other stuff coming up in the future. We assisted Rice County on a pursuit, and during that pursuit that ended up crashing twice in our city, we recovered a stolen truck and the 2 snowmobiles that were in his trailer. A week later, he came through the city again with another stolen truck and more stolen snowmobiles, so good at what he does. Of course, we had the fatal explosion on Impala. Part 1 crimes year to date. It's really early in the year, so these are the crimes that we don't want to see, so things are looking good for this year. Those are all things that we want to see stay down, but like I said, it's just January, so it's really hard to tell. Property crimes, same thing. These remain pretty consistent. Some are up, some are down. We'll get a better idea as the year goes on which way we're heading with these. Response to citizens, medical emergencies are up. It's pretty consistent. Our CAT incidents comparatively from last year, again, these rose considerably again in January. I took some notes in January of 2014, we were at 2,400. Last year at this time we did 3,400. This year we did 4,100. So as you can see, the calls are pretty consistent. We're up dramatically in 2015 also. Average response time, things are looking very good here, but this is comparing January to January. This January was fairly warm and dry. Last year was not. Traffic crashes, pretty consistent. As a side note, you've probably noticed if you're getting reports on them, the roundabout accidents are beginning to dwindle significantly. So I think people are beginning to get used to the traffic flow through the roundabout. So our traffic stops for the month. Again, I took some notes here. I went back to 2014. In January of 2014, there was 488 traffic stops. Last year, you see, we had a little over 1,000, and this year we're at 1,600, so those are up significantly. News from the traffic unit. As you can see, the traffic unit will write more warnings than citations. So people, I don't like to use the word earn the citations, but a lot of people earn a warning. So if you're getting a citation, there's actually more people getting warnings than citations, so you did something to receive that. Here's the accidents. Accidents are in red, traffic stops are in blue. As you can see, we do continue to do clusters around where we get the accidents. People are claiming that they're not seeing traffic enforcement. I think these maps will show that we actually are doing quite a bit of traffic enforcement throughout the entire city. So if anyone's saying they're not seeing us, I don't think they're looking that hard. As you well know, we have the new 48-hour rule for parking. These are new signs that the sign department made up for us, and we're posting these so people will be aware of the signs in our public parking lots. For those of you that are watching at home, the new law says that you can't stay in a city or a municipal parking lot for more than 48 hours straight. Comparative stats, comparing Lakeville, Egan, and Woodbury. These are the stats that I've been using traditionally. I'll just let you take a peek. Egan's obviously much more crime-filled than Lakeville. Probably has something to do with the chief. And
The administrator.
I'd like to formally apologize to Egan before we move on. Take it back, Chief.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. No, as you will see, we use these as a comparative statistics, and it's just 1 month, so it's going to be tough to tell, but that's where we're sitting. And comparing theft from auto DUIs and assaults, again, fairly good month in Lakeville, so that's excellent. And then a mission statement, we always put this at the end, but I will say we're going to be meeting with the Public Safety Committee coming up, I believe, in April. We've worked really hard on developing a new mission statement that we'll present to the Public Safety Committee and hopefully have a new mission statement at the next quarterly presentation. I will stand for any questions.
Next highlighted item on the agenda is item number 7, public hearing to consider the application of Lakeville Brewing Company, LLC for an on-sale and Sunday liquor license. And once again, to provide the background information on this agenda item is Chief of Police Jeff Long.
Good evening again, Mayor, members of the council. The police department recently did complete a background investigation on all the individuals with an interest over 5% for the Lakeville Brewing Company. As you know, this business is located in the old VFW building on 208th Street. We have completed the investigation for the following provisions: on sale, Sunday liquor on sale, and brew pub. Based on state statute and Lakeville City Code, the applicants all met the qualifications for the requested liquor license. After completing the background investigation, the police department has no reservations regarding the issuance of these licenses. I will stand for any questions.
Item number 7 was approved by the Lakeville City Council. Next highlighted item on the agenda was item number 8, public hearing to consider the proposed loan of a Minnesota Investment Fund grant and business subsidy for Mom Brands Company, LLC. And to give the information regarding this agenda item is Community and Economic Development Director Dave Olson.
Just a couple of the details, and Mr. Rosini did an excellent job of giving an overview of where things are at today with post-consumer brands. You will see Mom Brands Company, LLC on most of the documents. That is a subsidiary that was created, and the parent company is Post-Consumer Brands. So it's typical practice when we do these projects that they create, subsidiary companies for specific portions of their business. So I know it can be kind of confusing, but if you drive out there, the new monument sign in front of the building, and I got both their new business cards tonight, and it's Post-Consumer Brands, but technically and legally, in terms of the entity that we entered into these agreements with, it is Mom Brands Company, LLC. The structure and the terms, and that's what's taken a while to bring this all together in a one concise or two concise agreements, actually, is that we wanted to be consistent. We didn't want to have different requirements for the state portion versus the city portion. When we first presented this project back in June, we talked about the number of, and what was proposed at that point was a retention of a minimum of 250 jobs. As you heard tonight, they're well in excess of that, which is great news, and we were hoping for that, obviously, when we negotiated the terms of the agreement that we did preliminary terms last summer. I also like to point out the time frames. There's a benefit, what's called the benefit date, and it's May 4th, 2015. That's the date that Post closed on the acquisition of Mom Brands. So from that point forward is the date that we're counting and measuring performance in terms of job retention. So you'll see that date several places in both agreements. There was also a requirement on the state's portion as well as the city's portion that we establish a minimum minimum allowed wage for the job creation, and we came up with the number of $18.48 per hour, which happens to be one of the on the lower end of the jobs out there today. As was alluded to by Mr. Rosini, majority of their jobs are considerably higher than that. I will also point out, and we got a jobs report as that was dated as of end of December of 2015. 82% of those jobs were in excess of $60,000 a year jobs. EDC and City Council approved a goal in our strategic plan for economic development that we set a goal of retention and creation of jobs, high wage, high skilled jobs in excess of $60,000 a year. This project certainly does that. There are some other requirements in both agreements, and most of these follow and are consistent with the business subsidy statutes in Minnesota law. Besides the retaining of the jobs from a minimum period of 2 years from May 4th, 2015, the company also is agreeing to maintain a base of operations in Lakeville for a minimum of 5 years. And that's referred to as the clawback provision in Minnesota law, the business subsidy statute, and applies to both the loan, the deed-funded MIF loan, and the city tax abatement portion. The actions on the first item, there is the grant agreement, which the money is coming from the state of Minnesota to the city, and the city is in turn entering into the loan agreement with Mom Brands Company, LLC. In addition to that, grant agreement, there's the actual loan agreement itself, and that is secured and supplemented by a promissory note and a corporate guarantee on behalf of Post Consumer Brands. So those are the two actions, and the city's approving and executing both the grant contract with the state and then the loan agreement with Mom Brands Company, LLC. On the state portion, I will say, and the mayor and City Administrator Miller and I were all there on the first meeting we had with representatives of Post, and the state's been at the table the entire time. This is the first time ever this program's been used for a pure job retention project. Most of the time it's for new businesses or expanding businesses. The state found a way to make this program work for a true job retention program. Both Kevin McKinnon, who was the deputy commissioner, was at that first meeting, and Bob Isaacson, one of the other senior staff at DEED, found a way to make this program and tailor this program to make it fit this project. I also wanted to mention and recognize that Rick Howden in my office has been the primary go-between between the city and the state and Post Consumer Brands. I mean, he was kind of the sounding board for everybody, and we had to, again, make the state documents fit and work for our process and for the company's process, and Rick did a lot of work to make that happen.
Item number 8 was approved by the Lakeville City Council. Next highlighted item on the agenda was item number 9, public hearing to consider the proposed property tax abatement and a business subsidy for Mom Brands Company, LLC. And once again, to give the background information on this agenda item is Community and Economic Development Director Dave Olson.
The city's portion of this project is a tax abatement, and this is a new tool for the city in terms of our economic development efforts here as well. We've done numerous tax increment financing projects in the past, but this is the first time we've proceeded with and brought forward to you a tax abatement project. And one of the reasons for that is that the entire area in which Post Consumer Brands has their location is in the Fairfield redevelopment TIF district that was created a number of years ago. And in fact, it's a 25-year TIF district that runs until the end of 2022. So you can't do a TIF project on top of a TIF project. You can't do a tax abatement project on top of a TIF project. However, it is a fairly common practice to, when cities need to extend or provide assistance beyond what the TIF district can do, is to, upon the expiration of the TIF district, start basically or immediately commence into a tax abatement. project, and that's what we're proposing to do here. The difference being, unlike TIF, which is the city and the county and the school district's tax base being captured for the existing TIF district in place, this will only be the city's portion of the taxes that is proposed to be abated. And we presented all the same information to the council last year when this project first came forward. The other aspect of the project, and when we presented this to council last June, we said that the city's portion would come after the jobs have been in place for 1 year. And again, using that May 4th, 2015 date, we're coming up on May 4th, 2016 is when they will be eligible for the city's portion of the tax abatement of $375,000. And what the council agreed to when we presented this conceptually and how this project is structured is that we're providing that assistance up front and funding it through an internal loan. And so included in the action with the tax abatement is both the approval of the tax abatement resolution, but then also a separate resolution approving of the internal loan from the general fund to fund this tax abatement, and that loan is structured to, based on a conversation we had with the council late last month at a work session, at 3.5% accrual interest rate. So that interest will start accruing from the date that the funds are provided, which will be May 4th, and accrue at a rate of 3.5%. And there'll be about a 6 to 7 year just interest only accruing until the TIF district decertifies at the end of 2022. After that, it'll be the city through a tax abatement will be able to pay both principal and interest. We're anticipating approximately 6 years of full, 6.5 years of actual city taxes being abated to fulfill or repay both the principal and interest. And there's a revised spreadsheet that was included in your packet, was prepared by Springstead using that 3.5% interest rate. So this project and dates are intended to mirror as close as possible the deed MIF loan requirements. They still have the 5-year requirement that they have to maintain their base of operations in Lakeville, and the 2 years total of maintaining the minimum of 250 retained jobs. This project is consistent with the city's tax abatement policy. I think it's a rather unique situation. I don't know that it necessarily would become the norm for economic development projects, but I think it was a consensus by everyone, staff and council and EDC, that this project was important enough to come up with a little bit more creative terms in doing this project. So with that, I'll certainly stand for any questions on the tax abatement portion.
Item number 9 was approved by the Lakeville City Council. Well, those were the highlighted items presented to the council at their March 7th, 2016 meeting. If you have any questions or comments regarding these agenda items, please feel free to call City Hall. The number is 952-985-4400. Thanks for watching this edition of Lakeville City Council Wrap-Up.